Okay, all right. Well, I think it's probably best that we start. Thanks for everyone who's kind of attending. Just before we get started, the session is recorded. So if you do have any problems with that, please do let us know. But it's only for kind of internal use, and we won't be. If you have some requests for us not to use it, then please do let us know. So grateful to be joined here by Teresa and Mike. We'll go a little bit in detail about the team in a few moments or so, but I'm really grateful for them to kind of be here. Mike being our kind of university representative with Portsmouth, and Teresa obviously being our kind of lead academic. So super grateful and lucky to have both of them here. In terms of the agenda for today, take about half an hour, 45 minutes tops. We'll just go through a little bit about who we are, what we offer. Some of our university partnerships, some of our prices, and then we'll pass it over to Mike to kind of take us through a little bit more about Portsmouth University specifically and the options that they have. And then we'll just open it up to an FAQ. So, if you guys have got any more questions, feel free in the chat to just pop it in as we go throughout. And then also at the end, we'll kind of come to those as well. But yeah, without further ado, why don't we start? So as mentioned, my name is Alex. I kind of head up the student relations side of things here. So part of ISDC Academy, which stands for International Skills Development Corporation. We have a very successful kind of Indian side of the business, and now very much looking at expanding and growing that to other kind of areas, only making our portfolio more established and slightly more colorful. So you can see here a little bit more about kind of who we worked with in the past, but from our first year in India, we got 30,000 students on board, doing qualifications like ACCA, CIMA, and BCS. And now we're very much looking at developing our undergraduate and postgraduate options to students, and very much emphasizing kind of affordability and making these kind of qualifications available to everyone. As we know, student prices in the UK alone are very, very high. And if we can somehow make that more affordable for those, then that's definitely something that I think worth pursuing. In terms of some of the kind of presences that we have, we've got our mention in India, but we're working in Sri Lanka, UAE, as well as other places as well. And we're only looking at growing that. We'll come on later to the universities that we partner with, but we've got many in the UK, but we've got some across the globe as well. So not just limited to one certain area. Just a bit about kind of who we are and who's with us today. Obviously, I mentioned we got Teresa and Mike, and then myself and Nicole as well. And Nicole is the student relations executive, so she kind of chats to students one-on-one to make sure that they have everything they need and are happy to kind of come and study with us. Thought it was worth kind of putting in why choose us as opposed to a different kind of provider. Well, one of the biggest things is the money saved. As mentioned earlier, fees can go up to like £15,000 or more a year, especially for an international student. And for many countries, that isn't quite feasible. So kind of coming with us is a more viable option, especially for those countries where, financially they might not be as grounded, and coming with us, it provides a far more kind of cheaper and affordable option while still gaining the same level of accreditation at the end of the course. A few other things as well. Yeah, we've got many university partners, obviously, so glad to be joined by Mike, who come from Portsmouth, and what we work with them is some of our kind of online options, but we can also kind of offer face-to-face options as well for students who want to come into the UK. Other things as well, you can apply for the post-study work visa if you kind of want to. And obviously, we're kind of very much developing our interactive live virtual delivery. So, and they are all recorded as well. So if students can't quite attend, they don't need to worry too much about that. They can always watch the recordings afterwards. Yeah, a little bit more about that here. Just looking at the way that we deliver the classes, we've got live teaching each week. And as mentioned, the recordings are all available for students to use at later reference if they can't quite attend. They'll also have the lecture notes and slides, and the tutors will point them to further resources as well. So obviously, you're studying undergraduate level, studying postgraduate level does require independent study. It's the nature of it, regardless of whether you do it online or in person. Independent study is very much encouraged, and therefore we will point you to these kind of resources, but there will be a certain level of kind of independent study that students will need to do. And finally, assignments per module will be shared during the start of each module. So there are obviously many modules that students need to complete, and the assignments about what they will need to do to pass that module will be provided for them nice and early for them to kind of be prepared. Now, moving on to the specifics about what we actually offer. To kind of first start off, these courses and everything that we do are pretty much business related. Now, business, I think, has a sort of maybe a kind of a two-dimensional reputation, but this can include anything from, you know, business to marketing to economics to finance to HR to hospitality management to healthcare management. So it is super diverse. Despite, you know, coming across as business, there are many different areas that students can kind of pick from, and students that kind of have areas of interest in. So, you know, don't just think of it as just like a one branch thing. To start off, we've got our kind of foundation course here on the left. You can see here it's equivalent to, you know, the foundation year. So just, you know, not quite year one of an undergraduate, but just prior to that. And this is very much for students who, you know, have a high school equivalent. They've got around 10 years of education, but haven't quite gone up to 12 years. In the UK, this would be equivalent of like finishing at GCSEs, or like well, at least with us, it's 16 years old. And as mentioned, they're not quite ready to go on straight to the undergraduate option. And they've often, you know, we do recommend with all these courses that a decent level of English, you know, the students have. As a rule of thumb, we tend to say IELTS 5.5 as a minimum or the equivalent courses, but we will also read this on a case-by-case basis. So if students get in touch and have a fantastic level of English, but don't have one of these qualifications, we'll very much just monitor that as well. So that's case by case, and we'll kind of have like a short interview just to kind of monitor that. Now, here are the kind of the core modules that we've got for the first option, the foundation option. They're all mandatory. And what I'll do is I'll just invite Teresa to kind of just jump in here and just kind of go into a little bit further detail about what these actually entail.
Sure. Thank you, Alex. Okay, so as Alex mentioned, the foundation in business is designed for individuals who have not completed 12 years of education. So in UK terms, who do not have A-levels. And it's designed as a sort of bridging program also for those individuals who have perhaps been out of education for rather a long time and would benefit from a more gentle approach. So we've got 3 modules that I will refer to as modules that will help you overall with your future studies, and that is the business mathematics with Microsoft Excel. The study skills for business, where we'll teach you how to conduct the all essential research that you need with undergraduate study, and communication skills for business, which I'm sure you will all understand that business is all about communication. So we will be teaching you both academic forms of communication and also practical communication forms, such as how to deliver presentations, write reports, write short abstracts, and communicate in business environments. And also, very importantly, how you will work with your peers. The other 5 modules, more or less, have the word introduction, and that introduction is going to give you an underpinning basic level knowledge so that you can hit the ground running when you go into the next level up of the first year of undergraduate. So, of course, business centers around economics. Business these days tends to be very much international rather than localized. Always good to know about marketing and how our consumers, how our customers behave, why they make decisions to buy what they buy. Then we look at the organizational behavior. That is how groups of people operate together at work and how to manage people well. And then we have quite an interesting, more generic program that looks at international relations for business and sort of the backgrounds of treaties, trade agreements, and very much the regulatory environment within which businesses operate. So 8 modules, which are, as Alex might have mentioned, all tested via assignments, with the exception of one very small MCQ examination for the business with Excel. So interesting stuff, should get you to get you into the flow, ready for undergraduate studies, and it's a case-by-case basis. Not everybody will need to do this program. Some of you listening in may be eligible to go directly to the undergraduate program and will not need to do this program. As I said, case by case, we have entry criteria. Thanks,
Absolutely.
Alex.
No worries. Thanks, Teresa. Yeah, so once students complete the foundation option with us, they kind of have a couple of options. Either they can go straight onto our undergraduate program, which we'll come to in a second, or we do work with a couple of universities that will allow students to join from year one at the specific university. However, obviously, if that is the case, then students will be paying the full 3-year fee with them, which obviously, if affordability is, something that we're looking to tackle, it doesn't quite kind of caveat that. So if students do want to come and study our undergraduate program next, this is very much what we would recommend. And yeah, it still allows students to kind of keep that affordability before kind of going to the final year of the university. So yeah, you can see here, we've got the level 7 and the level 8. Now, even though they are two separate kind of qualifications, they very much are equivalent to the first year and second year of a bachelor's degree. Hence why we can kind of offer this route for students to then go to the university, because we've got the kind of the accreditations relevant that kind of match those to allow for that pathway to happen. These are obviously business related. There's mandatory modules for the level 7, and then for the level 8, there are pathways that students can pick from. Just like in the UK, if you were to attend university in the second year, you often get modules that you're allowed to pick from, whether that's something that you're more interested in, or you have a particular affiliation for it. That's where that kind of option would kind of come in here. In terms of entry requirements for this course, we tend to recommend that students have, in England, it's called an A-level, but like an A-level or equivalent. So often studying up to the age of 18, having 12 years of education under their belt. And likewise with all the different qualifications that we have, they need to have a decent level of English. So yeah, you can see here we've got the different levels and the different modules as well. As mentioned, the level 7, they are mandatory. And then the level 8, you've got 3 mandatory, and then you've got pathways that you can kind of pick from. And those pathways will determine which universities that you will then go to afterwards. Just to kind of like caveat things, at the start of the level 8 program, we provide a kind of a student advisory team that will help students choose the modules that they want to do for that year, and therefore which universities they will go to. So we very much start encouraging students to think at the start of the second year what they want to do at the university and which university they want to go to. But we do have support in place to help students kind of make that decision. Just like with the level 7, with the foundation, Teresa, do you want to kind of hop in here and just mention the differences between the level 7 and 8 and the modules specifically?
Yes, I'll keep this as simple as possible, but there is a clear progression with absolutely every university that, as you would expect, A-level is at one level of challenge, the first year of university is at the next level up, and the second year is at the next level up, and so on. What generally makes for that differential is the amount of independent study that the student is expected to take on board, finding the materials that they read, judging whether those materials are valuable sources of knowledge and information, and also very, very much developing that criticality. Being able to not take what you read necessarily at face value, but be able to take a critical approach to it. And also we tie in then a lot of problem solving. So yes, you will learn theories. Yes, you will learn of tried and tested models, for example, of change management, but you will be required increasingly to apply those to real business problems and look at solving problems within the business environment. So the modules are self-explanatory, the principles of business management, a deeper dive into marketing management, a deeper dive into what we've called talent management, which is human resource management, focusing on acquiring the best human beings to work in your company and keeping them. We go deeper into business economics, keeping a very, very firm eye on current affairs. And of course, nothing is going to work without our students understanding the basics of business accounting, because fundamentally the financials underpin everything. The final module, the personal and professional development, will be quite a useful module for everyone, in terms of working on your own strengths and weaknesses, your own career ambitions, and perhaps also reflecting on which area of the business generally you might prefer to specialize in. It's conditional that you have all of the modules of level 7 the first year before you move on to in the second. Except we'll let you, if you're trailing just one that you need to complete, we'll put you onto you can go on to the second year. You'll look at change management, very, very worthy module at the moment. And I think we can say that one of the only constants in the world of business and the world outside business is it's changing rapidly. We'll be taking you into a deep dive on business analytics. And I'm sure most people have noticed just how all-encompassing business analytics are in everything that businesses do, going above, way and beyond Netflix, knowing exactly what you might want to watch after you've watched whatever you watched last night. And then also underpinning the modern business environment is a very, very strong understanding of professional ethics and what is lawful, looking at aspects of sustainability that again have become very much to the forefront within the business environment. So some good solid stuff that something for everybody. That is also offered on a month on a block delivery. So yes, you'll have good months when you really enjoy doing, for example, marketing management, and perhaps, but you will emerge as a generalist as well. You will be able to choose from one of these pathways, and to a certain extent, these pathways will open or close doors on certain of our progression partnerships. Now, with us today, we have Mike Pant from the University of Portsmouth, with learning at work, which I think is very pertinent really for this online program. So please keep that in mind. And I think Mike will be able to tell you which of those generally for the learning at work program will be possible from our programs. But I think probably, Mike, I think I'm right to say it's everything except the tourism and the healthcare. But we'll more or less, yes. So choose carefully, and choose wisely, but also choose what really is enjoyable for you, because in the end, the program does give you quite a lot of breadth as well as the depth in the pathways anyway. So second year of your program, half of your credits, half of your program will be earned from one of these pathways.
Absolutely. And yeah, I just thought it'd be good to include a page here just with some of the universities that you can then go on and study with. So these aren't all of them, but these are just a handful that I just picked. We'll come on to kind of the majority of them later, but just to kind of cover, yeah, once you've done the level 7 and 8 with us, you then can progress to one of these university partners and gain your full degree with them. And obviously some of our options, like the University of Portsmouth, you can kind of do the online option as well. So if you don't want to come, in person, you're more than welcome to do that as well.
Particularly if you're a working person, I would like to say that the University of Portsmouth option is a very good one for you, because you will be among fellow people who are actually learning while they're working, which is not a bad way to learn.
No, absolutely. Fantastic. And then we come on to our last one, the postgraduate, which you can kind of see here is equivalent to the postgraduate diploma. It's a level 11 qualification and follows all the same rules as the other ones, really, in terms of modules that you'll need to do. And then once you've kind of done those, you have the option to come to one of our kind of partner universities, work on your kind of dissertation, submit that, and then you will have gained, your master's. And as mentioned, all the way throughout, this is just a far more affordable option to gain these qualifications because you study with us first. So yeah, as mentioned, you've got the kind of the level 11 core modules. It works very similarly. You've got 3 kind of core modules that you need to choose from, and just like with the previous level, there are certain pathways that you can choose from, and that will obviously determine some of the partner universities and the options that you've got going forward. So yeah, Teresa, do you want to just mention briefly a little bit about these as well? I know it's quite similar, but do you want to just briefly go through those?
I think it's more or less self-explanatory.
Yeah.
No one is eligible to do a master's degree if they don't have a bachelor's degree. And with a master's degree, you'll find in business that the important words are really integration, looking at all the different threads that you've done at an undergraduate degree and looking at businesses more holistically, looking at them from the top, from higher up in the business. So very much about strategy, leadership, and very much a core part of any master's program is independent research, which amounts to 1/3 of any master's program. So you would be looking at doing a substantial dissertation in an area of personal interest to you, which you would be doing, for example, through the University of Portsmouth. But we would be teaching you how to do that research, how you go about researching, different methods of managing your data, different ways of presenting your data and using your sources. And again, we have the choice of pathways. Clearly, we would expect you might be thinking about taking your pathway into your dissertation, although you do not strictly have to do that. But once you've decided on your pathway and you decide that marketing is really your area of interest, for example, it might be a logical progression that you would then extend that into your dissertation work, your research work.
Absolutely. Thank you very much, Teresa. So yeah, just to kind of go over the fees a little bit, I think, we've kind of mentioned the affordability throughout the presentation, but just to kind of reiterate the fees, the foundation option, the first kind of qualification that we considered is £800. The undergraduate option year 1 is 1,000, and the undergraduate year 2 is 1,250. And if you pay for those two all in one go, it's only 2,000. So you get 250 off that. And then the postgraduate is 1,500. Now with all of these, if you're going to compare, let's just say, for example, going to the university and studying year 1, you're an international student and you're coming in person to the university, some of the fees can be, skyward of like £11,000. So obviously having this option is really nice, and for like students who maybe don't have that financial kind of backing, especially international students from maybe countries that don't have that standard of living. So we're really kind of happy and proud to be able to kind of offer this to students. And likewise with the foundation and postgraduate as well. It's just a far more affordable route to gaining these things while still having the accreditation at the end, which is equivalent and exactly the same as what you would have got if you came in person kind of for the full 3. There's no kind of logo or anything from ISDC that would be on the kind of undergraduate or postgraduate qualification, the degree at the end. It's just very much fully accredited kind of by them. And I suppose following on from that, a lot of students ask us, if these courses are far cheaper, why am I to kind of believe that these have the relevant kind of awarding credibility that is required? And this is very much where the SQA come in. And, the SQA is the Scottish Qualifications Authority. It's pretty much the industry standard in the kind of in the kind of education sector, that is the stamp of approval that, you know, companies such as ourselves require to make sure that our qualifications meet the relevant, you know, criteria to be able to kind of offer exactly what we're telling them that we are. So universities and all the kind of the higher education institutions are aware of SQA, and if a student does come to us and say, you know, why, you know, if these fees are so much lower, where is the kind of the proof, we would just kind of simply direct them to the SQA and the SCQF website, and we would also just prove them all the kind of the internal documents that they might require to kind of prove that, you know, the authenticity and the credibility. So you'll find us on their websites, so there's no need to kind of worry about that. But if you do want to go and have a look, absolutely, please be my guest. They are all there for you to kind of to see. And yeah, here are some of our university partners. Obviously, you see Mike's here, which is obviously great. University of Portsmouth, you can see on the left there, but we've got, you know, a variety of others. And this list has been added to, so our website is kind of the more accurate place to look at for these. I know this is just a handful, but we have got others in other locations as well. So you can see in the top left, you've got, you know, Singapore, and in the bottom left, you've got New Zealand. So you students aren't limited to the UK, but that very much is where the main of our presence is. But we've also got other options as well. So we've got, you know, an option in Australia and New Zealand and, you know, UAE and Germany. So if students do want to kind of look further afield than just the UK, they're obviously more than welcome to. But, you know, if you do want that option to come to the UK, it's absolutely there. And students can also apply for a post-study work visa afterwards if they come in person, which obviously for some students it is attractive. So yeah, I mean, that pretty much comes to the end of our presentation. So what I'm going to do now is pass it over to Mike. Mike, I think you should be able to share your screen and take us through your slides, but if you can't, let me know, because I've also got your slides as well. And if you just let me know when you want the slide to change, then I can do that. But if you want to kind of go ahead and just give it a go, you should see an option at the bottom that just says share screen.
Yep.
Oh, well, there you go.
Got it.
Perfect. You've done this before. Well, then perfect. So yeah, I'll let you take it away now.
Alex, these are the guys that do online learning
yeah, good
for
point,
a business.
good point.
I think they can cope with this.
That's a fair point.
It's
Thank
a
you,
lovely
Alex.
strap line. Learning without leaving work. Absolutely
Yes.
fabulous strap line.
Thank you, Alex, and thank you, Teresa. So welcome to everyone. So my name is Mike Punt. I'm the Director of Learning and Work at the University of Portsmouth in England. So I've just been asked to come in and talk about the progression if you wish to come to the Learn at Work courses. So you can see our title there, they're work-based learning courses to boost your career without leaving work. So I'll quickly go through these slides, and then if there's any questions, you can ask myself or Alex or email. So the Learn at Work courses are a sort of tri-party relationship between the student, the employer, and the university, because the student is in work. We do request that our students are in some form of work. So that could be full-time, part-time, voluntary work, or an internship. And we offer bachelor's at level 6 degrees and also masters at level 7. You can see there we've got a long list of course titles. So going back to Teresa's comment, we would accept any of those pathways, including hospitality, onto our courses. So that's really good news that any students studying with ISDC can come on to Learn at Work, because we have recognised those qualifications that Alex discussed earlier on. So you can see we've got various titles at BA and BSc, everything from business to professional studies and engineering and creative studies, same titles at MA and MSc. And you can also see at the bottom right there, we've got some occupational health and safety courses, which may be relevant to some people. So you can see we've got a real breadth of course titles that will capture anyone in any type of business. So what are the benefits of Learn at Work? Well, one, you do not need to attend Portsmouth. All our course content is online, so it's distance learning, which means you can stay in work in your home country, wherever that is, whether that's India, anywhere else in the world, you stay there, and it means you do distance learning and can work and study at the same time, which means you don't have to give up work to study for your degree or master's. You can study some work-based projects, which I'll come into in more detail. We give the option of a combination of mandatory and optional modules you can choose. You can achieve professional recognition with various professional bodies here in the UK. So that helps also with your career prospects. There is flexibility with our courses as well. And also we can take your existing knowledge and qualifications and they count towards your degree, which I'll come on to again in a minute. So lots of good benefits there of studying with Learn and Work at the University of Portsmouth. And also there's benefits to your employer, because obviously you will be in work while you're studying. So for example, you will be studying some work-based projects. These are real life projects that you will implement in your workplace. So not only will you benefit personally by completing those projects, but so will your employer. So how does Learn and Work work? So you can see by that slide there, is at the top there, we can take recognized prior learning. So Alex went through all those different qualifications from ISDC. We recognize all of them and we will allocate credits for those qualifications, which means you will study less credits with us, which means it's cheaper and less time consuming. So when you come in with that recognized prior learning, you would then generally do a mandatory learning management module. And then you can choose some optional distance learning modules, but those modules obviously have to be related to your course title. So if you're doing business, you're going to be doing some business, leadership and management type modules. And you will also complete some work-based projects, as I mentioned. So you will add up the credits from your recognized prior learning with the credits from your optional modules and mandatory modules, credits from your work-based project, and that then adds up to gaining your bachelor's or master's degree. And in here in the UK, that's 360 credits for a bachelor's or 180 credits for a master's. So a little bit more detail about recognized prior learning, because this is one of the strengths of Learn and Work, that we recognize people's experience and qualifications. So we will consider not only other qualifications you may have, so you may have achieved other qualifications before you've studied with ISDC. So we can recognise many qualifications from not only the UK, but international qualifications as well. And also, if worst case scenario, you don't have any qualifications, we can assess your experience in work. So if you have substantial work experience, then we can also assess that as well. And also, if any of you have a military background, we can also give you credits depending on what rank you are within the armed forces. You can see there's some really good benefits there from Learn and Work, that we look at your whole experience from work, your qualifications, etc. I mentioned about professional recognition. So some of you may wish to go on and apply to professional bodies to be recognised after your degree or master's. So there's some professional bodies here in the UK. You don't have to apply to them, but some people do. So, for example, if you do an engineering course title with us, you could apply to the IET or the Institute of Mechanical Engineers. And there's other professional bodies we work with, and we can support you with that as well. So how will we support you? So we obviously are online distance learning. So everything's in our virtual learning environment. So you will access all the teaching, learning materials there. But we will also ask you to identify a workplace partner, mentor in your employer to support you. You'll get a dedicated university tutor to support you throughout your studies. You also get a learning management tutor. That's another tutor in the university to also support you. And you'll also get the individual lecturing staff who will be teaching you on those online modules as well. And I mentioned there's a mandatory introductory learning management course, and that helps you to do how to conduct research, how to write academic reports. So it's almost a bit of a preparation for studying at higher education level. So to give you an idea of fees, so our fees are dependent on the number of credits you have to study. So depending on what qualification you come to us with, that would depend on how many credits to study, but you can spread the fees over a number of years. Also, your employer can pay. So you can pay for some of the fees, but you can also request or ask your employer to pay. And there's just some examples of fees. So if at bachelor's degree level, you came in with 240 credits of recognised prior learning, and you need to then study 120 with us, it's 6,170. And then at master's, again, if you came in with 120 credits of recognised prior learning and studied 60 credits with us, that's 3,800. So it just gives you a bit of idea of our fee level. The entry requirements, well, we don't have any standard entry requirements, which is good. We assess every application on its own merit. So when you come to us, you'll tell us your work experience, the qualifications you've gained, and we would then look at that and decide the best route for you, the best course title, and whether you study at bachelor's or master's level. So we do really strongly recommend you contact us first, or you can go through Alex. So we always suggest that you do go through ISDC, so they're aware of your interest with learner work. But once you do contact us, we would assess that whole picture and then give you a recommendation of which course you can study for. So that if there's any questions, I'll come on to that in a minute, but just there's some contact details. So there's our email address, learningatwork@port.ac.uk. But as I mentioned, it's always good to go through ISDC first, and then you can then contact us, or ISDC can pass on your details to us. And if you want any more information, you can go to the University of Portsmouth website and search for work-based degrees. So that's Learn at Work. Back to you, Alex.
Super, Mike. Thanks so much for taking us through that. A couple of people asked about the web, like it being the slides being sent out afterwards. So yeah, I can absolutely do that. And Mike, if you're happy for me to, I can send out yours as well. I've just posted in your Learning at Work email address in the webinar chat. So if people do want to get in touch that way, please absolutely do so. And I've also kind of posted in an option to kind of book into my diary as well. So if any student wants to kind of book in directly with me and just have a chat, please feel free to kind of do that as well. There aren't any questions, but if anyone does have any questions, please feel free to kind of pop them in now. Mike,
I'd like to ask Mike a question. Yeah. I mean, really, on behalf of students, really. When we say that a student must be at work, can we be clear that do they need to be in a managerial position, or can they be someone who is looking forward to becoming a manager, but at the moment they're actually basically on the shop floor?
Yeah, that's fine. Yes. So they don't necessarily need to be in a management position. So that goes back to what I said, is when they contact us, they can give us all that information. Yeah. We can assess it and advise them on the best route. So yes, they don't necessarily need to be in a senior management position. They could be at the start of their career looking to get their degree or master's, which will help them to move into a management position.
Super. Teresa, this might be a question for you. We've got a good question that says students going for the Singapore or New Zealand universities, they won't be eligible to apply for a post-study work visa. Is that correct?
No, it's not correct. So Singapore is really quite tough in terms of eligibility for a post-study work visa. Not surprisingly, it's a very small, overcrowded island, and I believe it's conditional on having work. An offer of work, but don't quote me on that. New Zealand is quite generous with post-study work visa. New Zealand, of course, is sort of the opposite, much an underpopulated country that welcomes good, talented people to come in and will most definitely give a post-study work visa. I think off the top of my head, it's much the same as the UK one. 2 years, it might be 3 even. But it's a generous one. So certainly we're going to find New Zealand very welcoming of, you know, the whole message is that if you do your degree in the UK, you become part of the UK talent pool, and the opportunity is then there for you to work. If you can find work, we have to be clear that, you know, Singapore is not in the same kind of it's not you know, it's very different in terms of being extremely poor. It's very, very competitive environment, but it's not impossible in Singapore either.
Super. They said thank you for the clarification. So thank you for the clarification.
My pleasure.
Oh, another question. So hold on, they've just got another question. So let's just wait for them to kind of pop that in. But that's a really good question. Please feel free to kind of, yeah, ask any more like that. Myself, Teresa, or Mike, for either three of us. Please please pop them in. And if you do think of one afterwards, do feel free to kind of, just send them a question to that email. I'll pop in my email as well, and obviously feel free to just book in for a call.
The proviso on where there is no post-study work visa qualification is if you chose to do the learning at work option. It is, as Mike has said, completely online, on the assumption that you already have a job and you're looking for career prospects in your own country. So, you know, it addresses completely different need. So do students get any assistance with job search from the university? I can answer that, and then I can let Mike see if he has anything to add. Pretty much all universities are these days judged, part of their ranking relates to their the number of students who go from qualifying into work. So yes, there is definitely a lot of help with helping students to find employment with almost any university will help with that. If you're thinking, do the universities regularly get big, large companies in who will start recruiting students directly from the universities, rather sort of Indian style? No, that is not really predominantly the way that we work in the UK, but every UK university will have a careers department who will help generally and specifically. Mike, anything to add about help with work?
Yeah, so just to add to what Teresa said, if you come to any UK university, including University of Portsmouth, so if you attend our campus, we have a dedicated careers team who will help you to find work. But if alternatively you study the Learn at Work course, we would expect you to be in some form of employment before you start studies, because it's part of the requirement of the course that you're in work. And obviously, if you're in India, we can't assist you with that because we're here in the UK. So you would need to try and find some kind of employment in India. And then you can then apply to us here at Learn at Work, and we can then help you with which course is appropriate for you.
Super, fantastic. Thanks very much, Mike and Teresa.
Thank you, Mike. Thanks.
I think that's pretty much it. We are coming to like 45 minutes now, which we pretty much said was the kind of the cutoff point. But I just want to say thanks, Mike, so much for attending. We really appreciate your time. And obviously, Teresa, as always, thanks so much. And thanks everyone else for attending as well. Now, I think a couple of people did join a little bit late. So we have got the recording that we can kind of send out to individuals as well. So don't worry too much about if you missed it. And I can definitely send out the slides from our side. And I think Mike said he's happy for the slides to be sent out for Portsmouth as well. So what I'll do is I'll follow up in an email to kind of those who attended, and kind of catch up and make sure that they have everything that they need, and include like those slides in there as well. But if that's it, I think we'll kind of leave you all to your evenings, or wherever you are, maybe mornings. And yeah, I look forward to kind of catching up with you guys in the meantime. But thanks so much for attending, and Mike, Teresa, thanks so much for
Mike, very warm thank you from us. Thank you so much.
Yeah,
thank you everyone. Goodbye.
Yeah, thanks all for
Bye.
attending. Really appreciate it. Bye.